Simon, good to meet you. Tell me where I'm finding you today.
I'm in UK. I'm in a little village in the middle of nowhere in a county called Leicestershire, so kind of right in the middle of the country. And we're just battening down the hatches, ready for this storm that's about to hit us. Apparently,
Oh, did we send that to you here in the
it did.
U.S.?
It did come off the Atlantic, so it came over the
Okay.
pond. But I don't think it was specifically generated from
All right.
from
Well,
you guys.
I want to hear a little bit more about. Is it Recom?
Recom,
Recom. Tell me
Recom,
more
yeah,
about. Tell the listeners more about what Recom
about
does.
Recom. Okay, so about 2 years ago, I was chatting with a colleague, a friend, who was looking at founding this business called Recom, which ultimately, to start with, was a white label sort of SaaS platform solution
Hmm.
for a brand to be able to plug into their brand network, brand it their own, but enable them to contact and communicate with consumers around recovering products, old products, faulty products, anything that the customer didn't want, that you were going to go out to them and say, look, hey, would you like to send us back any old products? We've developed new collections. There might be an incentive to give them a credit towards a new item from a new collection, maybe even a more sustainable collection than has
Yeah.
been. So a lot of communication and ability to tell customers that actually it's important that these clothes that you don't have, if you're not going to sell them to your friends, put them on eBay, it was kind of go through the processes. But if you don't want to do any of that, we will take that back and we will put that through the process of recom.
I grew
Yeah,
up as a teenager. My favorite place to go to was the thrift store because that's all I could
yeah,
afford.
yeah.
And it was kind of a way to be alternative. And it was we had a place in Berkeley called Odd Aardvarks, and that was just like where I found myself as a
I,
young
I I've been
teenager.
in it. I've been
You've
there.
been in
I've
Odd
been. To, I've been.
Aardvarks?
To, I've been to a place. I'm sure it was called Aardvarks, but was it? Do they have one in LA? Or do they
Oh, I'm
have a?
sure they do. Yeah, this
Yeah,
was on
yeah,
Telegraph. I don't even know if it's there anymore in Berkeley, but the concept of like that was when there was cool thrift stores,
yes,
and then there's like thrift stores, right? But like the cool thrift stores were you were looking for brands, you were looking for something to kind of give you an edge.
obscure.
Is
Yeah, but
this something like? Is this like a
well,
digitized way of doing
it.
that?
Hmm, not wholly, no, because obviously it's a much broader problem. That we've seen the rise of resale, and
Yeah,
we've seen what eBay, Depop, Vinted. Although the irony of Vinted, the biggest brand label that you'll find on Vinted today, and just listen to that word, Vinted, sounds like vintage,
yeah,
makes you think something.
yeah.
So great that Shein is the biggest seller by a long way on Vinted,
Interesting.
which is a little bit. Now I'm not going to go into the whole Shein rabbit hole
I
because
get it.
actually
Yeah,
there's a lot, there's a
there's a
lot
lot there.
of information, a lot of misinformation. The model,
Yeah,
only buy what you need when you need it, be accurate, don't waste, don't be wasteful,
yeah,
is the model.
yeah.
Design it, sell it, make it is the model, and that's the game. That's the one that will win. Try and get that second hand market going. It's already becoming very,
Yeah.
very well, very big.
Does this create another bite at the apple for brands to make more
Yeah,
to make money on something they've already extracted the value by selling it at retail? Can they get another bite at the apple in this secondary market?
yeah, but in a smart way rather than a lazy way, if you like. So really, it's about creating value from products that, in theory, you've kind of sold and gone, thank you very much, you've got it, you love it, cheers, bye, come back and buy something else. That's not what the game is about now. Customers don't just, we don't consume like that, we don't shop like that.
Right.
But if we are going to have stuff out there and we can get more value from it and keep it alive and keep it in the ecosystem longer and use it, and if we're going to put new stuff out there, create it to be recovered and reused and recycled and put out there again, that's got to be a better way of using resource than constantly just growing and taking and without any, the linear model of take it, make it, throw it away.
Well, yeah. I mean, um, I've got a teenager's room full of basketball shoes, which apparently you have to buy basketball shoes for every game now. I mean, it almost feels like
I wish
it
I'd
wasn't
kept
that way when I
mine.
was a kid.
I used to have a
It's
few.
ridiculous,
Yeah.
but these are like works of art. This generation, Gen Z, is really understands circularity. But if it was framed in a way that this is just what you do with your stuff,
This made
you could
sense.
really build a movement off of this.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's missing from our industry is education or lack of will to educate. And part of the reason for that is because the industry hasn't got everything in place to really talk very, very well. It's kind of like,
Mm,
when we talk about sustainability or social, environmental, ESG, whatever, everybody's kind of like, well, look, we're not, brands wise, well, we're not saying anything because we're not good enough. Where actually you kind of need to swallow a bit and say, you know what, this is about progress, not perfection. We do need to educate. We need to make things better, but we need to tell customers so that they come in and they buy into this. Like we've had so much education around food and whether
yeah.
it be fat or cholesterol or protein or, we need to educate, but it doesn't need to sound like lecturing. We still need to give choice. It needs to be affordable. There's so much inefficiency in the clothing industry. I can tell you that, you know what, if people used the technology and the innovation that's available today to deal with the problems that they have around transparency and being visible and then doing better things and being smarter and
Yeah.
creating almost a different way of that creating that profitability with that kind of money coming in, you could change the industry. I mean, it's
Oh,
phenomenal.
it's a
That's the
huge opportunity.
opportunity. Yeah, that's the
And it
opportunity.
seems like we get so stuck. We talk about this a lot in the show, right?
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you start thinking about telling the story of, hey, when you buy something, you get this opportunity to turn it into another life, and you might even be a consumer of that secondary market. And if that secondary market starts to become cooler than the primary market, now you've just fixed a problem. All it took was
correct.
changing the language and changing the story. It
And
seems like you've had such a deep, I mean, you've
yeah,
got a deep bench of experience around this because you've seen it all, right? I mean, you were responsible sourcing director at ASOS. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about ASOS. Are you guys in the US?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We've been in
All
the
right.
US
So tell us
for
a
a
little bit
while.
about ASOS, and I want to hear a little bit more about your role because that was a big role at
Yeah,
ASOS.
yeah. So the role I took on was we created the role called responsible sourcing director. Initially, I was asked to come in and look at sourcing, and I having been a buyer for many years before, worked in the
Okay.
outdoor world, so I've had a passion for that kind of outdoor,
Yeah.
Patagonias and so on. And so
Oh yeah.
that's been my personal thing. Again, where I live, I could climb, I could camp, I could walk. But what was happening was almost the e-commerce world took the bricks and mortar world, the horse and cart. A friend of mine used this analogy: the
Mhm.
horse and cart of the bricks and mortar world, and then used all that mentality and that methodology and tried to put that online, which was like sticking a jet engine on top of a horse and cart.
I bet.
So, all that happens is the whole thing just falls apart. The horse gets decapitated and it's a car crash, which is kind of where we've got to. So it needed a new process. So I looked at
Yeah.
sourcing, but I said, look, where are you buying from? Do you know who you're buying from? It's very inefficient not to know where you buy, but it's also very unethical because you don't know what problems. If you don't know, you can't deal. So we must know. So I took on the what was called the ethical trade team, and I took
Okay.
on the sustainability team. We were doing some projects in Africa with Soko in Kenya. We were working on almost cottage industries. We'd started buying what was known as BCI cotton, so I pulled it together and said, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it. It's kind of when I talk about sustainability today, I talk about commercial sustainability that brings purpose and profit together, doesn't see them as enemies, sees them as doing something that's smarter, that generates profit, that delivers your purpose. And that's how I want to talk about sustainability. So I precursor it with the word commercial, and that
Mm.
means you've got longevity as a business. So I sold that into the business, and that's what I did. Wherever we went, whatever we did, I wanted to know more. I wanted more visibility. I opened up the supply chain tiers 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Wow.
We worked with we saw people that were out there like Labour Behind the Label, Clean Clothes Campaign,
Yeah.
Anti-Slavery International. I
Right.
saw them as people we could work with to try and fix some of the problems. We
Yeah.
encouraged every brand that we sold on ASOS to sign up to at least 5 minimum requirements to ensure that they had visibility, they had an ethical trade policy, they declared their supplier list and so on. Because any retailer today that says, "Oh, I'm not telling you my suppliers because that's
That's
private,"
yeah.
and
That's over.
then
Yeah.
that's just an excuse for either I don't know and I don't want you to know I don't know,
Right.
or I do know and I don't want you to know what I know because it's crap. So so it's 2025, not
Right.
1965. So
Exactly.
so yeah, I came into ASOS and we started looking at regionality. We started digging further into the supply chain. We started trying to move to more sustainable materials. They're still on that journey. We relaunched our fashion, what we call fashion with integrity commitments, which was to people and planet, and how we were looking to improve and the steps we were going to make, reducing carbon, and the team. I've been gone 2 years, but the team are still ploughing on with that. The CEO that's there today,
Yeah.
Jose, wonderful guy, he's
Yeah.
doing the best he can. Yes,
Okay, so you had to embed, if you're going to sell this to the business, you had to embed some KPIs for yourself.
yeah,
Like what's
yeah,
what's this role going to contribute to the business? What do you think
yeah.
are the top three contributions that a title like responsible sourcing director is going to contribute to the business?
Well, the sourcing director role would have been just contributing towards
Yeah.
improved intake margin. I
Yeah.
argued for profitability because if I'm going to bring a sourcing strategy that brings you to regions where the intake margin is potentially going to come down, but because we're going to buy less, tie up less inventory, have less markdown, and fewer returns and better quality because we know more, I was always trying to talk to the profit side of things and the longevity and the benefits of that side. So yes, I was looking to consolidate,
Yeah.
to have a real global strategy. Obviously, you understand your customer type, you understand where you put your basics. Sourcing's not just about, okay, let's move all sourcing back to the USA, or let's move all sourcing if we're a UK company back to the UK, or that's not the right thing. It's having the right blend of sourcing. So, there's certain things come from certain regions because that's the best place and we're buying that kind of volume. We've got now traceability and visibility and we can negotiate a really good price. I'm not talking about a phone call that says, hey, give it me for 50 cents cheaper or I'll give it someone else. That's not negotiation. That's just bone
Right.
idle laziness.
Yeah.
And that's what does happen.
Yeah.
But so it was around, listen, I would look to consolidate our supply chain. I would look to have better, more preferential suppliers. I would work closer with them. We would work as a partnership, a relationship. And I know some
Yeah.
people say partnerships are the worst ships that ever sailed, but I'm talking
That's a good
about
one.
honesty and information sharing that allows an efficiency. Because if I can't give you 50,000 of something, but I can plan your capacity with you so you can plan your staff and your levels and your overheads, that's the next best thing. If I just keep coming saying I want 50, I want 100, I need 300, have you got, that's not efficient. That ticks a box of getting stuff done, but it
Right.
doesn't do it in a commercially or socially and environmentally conscious way. So it was about improved systems and delivering profit. And that's the main thing for me, was about delivering profit through being better and efficient. And then you put put the responsible in front of sourcing director. That was about, I wanted to ensure that ASOS could talk to shareholders, could talk to its staff, could talk to its consumers about how it was trying to do things better, and actually knowing that not only did that need to be done, I mean, I was there 12 years ago, needed to be done and we needed to catch up, but I knew it was going to become even more important. I was hoping it would become more important